Let's do a little experiment. They say, "Hello, how are you?" You say, "I'm doing well." How are you? you, 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 you're engulfed in the reaction. You're engulfed in the response. There's no space. So ultimately, that means that your mental health is at stake. One of the most important things in your life is your mental health. Well, let me scratch that. The most important thing in your life is your sense of self, who you think you are, who you know yourself to be, because it ties into your mental health. If you have a delusional sense of self where you think you are your thoughts, you occasionally are entangled with emotion, and you believe that to be the essence of who you are. My opinion has to do with what I am, with who I am. And if somebody doesn't agree with my opinion, I'm upset, or I'm disconcerted, or I'm stressed that whatever that person's opinion about my opinion, which is two opinions, two egoic, delusional senses of self battling each other. If your sense of self is not recognized from a deeper sense of who you are, it plays a part in your mental health. So, I think we were going to talk a little bit here about mental health and what ties into your responsibility as a human being with a conscious mind and a conscious essence. If you mistake your sense of self for a belief system, then ultimately your mental health will suffer. It will seem like you won't get your way about things. Your opinions may be tarnished, diminished, and that plays a part, a very huge part, in your sense of self, your mental health. So, going a little deeper and recognizing that, yes, mental health is very important, but your sense of self seems to be what your mental health relies on. So, if you've gone a little deeper here, like we have on these videos, then you might recognize that you're not your thought. You're not your mental, emotional fluctuations. And when your opinion isn't agreed upon, it's okay. It's okay. You don't need that extra stress in your life. It's unnecessary. But the only way that it can become a reality for you is if you basically dropped the identification with the belief system. Doesn't mean you don't believe you have to go to work. Doesn't mean you don't believe you have to eat to survive. Doesn't mean that. It just means that there's a little bit of space between the thought process, the emotional fluctuation, the reactivity, which you're not completely attached to it. There's a space in between you and the thought, you and the emotion. And so things get a certain kind of way, maybe negative or so on, then you can broaden that space and know that, okay, this is what the mind is doing. Fine. I don't derive my sense of self from that, so guess what? I'm fine. Oh, I can look around and enjoy everything, even as it's not going the way I planned. It's quite okay. I don't derive myself from my thought process. I don't derive myself by how I feel about a thought, because ultimately a thought is not you. a thought is a thought. It is an energy formation that comes into the thought process. Then it goes away. But you're still there. The essence of who you are, the consciousness that you are, is still there. So how could it be you? But that's a deep. I would say yes, mental health is important, but knowing the essence of who you are ties into that mental health, which is of the same importance, we would say, but we ultimately usually just look at mental health. We don't look at what underlies the mental health, what underlies the psyche in this totality. And it is, which it is, knowing the essence of who you are, which not disconnects, I don't want to say disconnects, but it leaves a little bit of space for you to be, and not for you to continuously be pulled along by the thought process, by the emotional fluctuations, by the reactivity of, someone saying something and I have to react. That's a sense of self. You have a sense of self in that, if that's the way you living your life. Even in regular conversations where you're just talking one-on-one with somebody and they say something and you react, even if it's just they say something, let's do a little experiment. They say, hello, how are you? You say, I'm doing well. How are you? You're engulfed in the reaction. You're engulfed in the response. There's no space. So ultimately that means that your mental health is at stake. And so use it as a practice. You're talking to people, you're walking. Allow a little bit of space. Don't be so reactive. Slow it down a little bit, and that creates the space for your true essence of who you are to be, and for mental health to become more pleasant, because it's not an immediate need. See, the mind doesn't, it becomes stressed when it seems that it can't keep up. I need to know what's going to happen, this and that. When it's like that, oh, there it is at the end of the day. Oh, it's been a long day. I'm so tired. Oh, it's because of all the trying to keep up, And if you don't really know the true essence of who you are, you're ultimately lost, and the mental health will begin to fail, if you will. And then you have stress and anxiety and all this stuff that come with not knowing who you are. So take a moment throughout the day to just detach from thought process. Look up at the sky sometime. There's a lot of a resemblance of the nature of who you are, the spaciousness in the sky. If you just look up sometime, that spaciousness that you see will sometime come within you. But you don't necessarily have to be looking at the sky. You could just be looking at me or but still recognize the breathing. One or two inhalations is usually good enough to bring yourself back to a more stable mental health position, or a more stable recognition of the essence of who you are. Thank you.